Hey everybody, how's it going? Christian from Treasure Town here, and today we're going to be talking about everything you want to know about silver rounds. And some of this is going to be my opinion, others of it is pretty much fact, but we're going to be kind of investigating, are silver rounds a good way to go about purchasing silver? Now, I personally like silver. It's not investment advice, this is entertainment, but obviously it's good to know how to do it the right way, and that's what I want to focus on more today. So I've been thinking through kind of why would you want to buy some of the coins that are in front of me, what are the advantages to doing it in a round form, especially kind of in the current environment in terms of silver, and then also the drawbacks, because I think people often want to say buy, but you do want to think about how you do it because there can be some drawbacks, like I'm saying. So now that we've got the intro done, we're going to get right into it. I like to beat around the bush. I think that the main thing for silver rounds, and then there's a lot more than this, but there are low premium ways to get a fair amount of silver, which can be quite an attractive thing, especially if you're not investing in massive amounts of silver, but instead want to kind of dip your feet in the game of, buying silver stacking. So I've got 5 rounds. This is one of the forms that I do not own a ton of silver in, though maybe that's not true because we've got 5-ounce rounds in the background as well, and we'll be talking about those as we go along. But the main benefit is that you can often purchase these cheaply. They don't have the same premiums, most likely, that things like a American Silver Eagle might have, or that, uncirculated coinage silver potentially will have, or government bullion. So they're one of the ways to just get a lot of ounces, and that can be often what people want to do when they're stacking. If they're less kind of interested in collectability, and they really just want to own silver on their person, I think that rounds are a great way to go. There's also kind of an added benefit that there are tons of different rounds of silver in terms of the designs, because they're not confined. Every U.S. coin that gets made, I believe, has to get approved by the government. I mean, it's being made by the United States Mint. Often they have to put in acts on them. So I've seen tons of different rounds, and as you can see here, there's a wide variety of designs. Anybody can really make them. And we'll get to why that might be a drawback in the future, but this is a really nice looking coin, I think, or not really a coin because it's not monetized, and that's something that you do have to remember. These are not monetized, purely the silver inside, but there's tons of artistic freedom in terms of what you can do on the coins. So I'll go over those in a moment. Like, look at this thing. It's I just purchased this because I got it at a really cheap price, but 5 troy ounces. And it's a quote from Woodrow Wilson about it's commemorating America's Liberty Fleet, and I should know more what that is really referring to. But that's seemingly quite obscure. I don't know if that 50 is actually usable in any maybe context, but very obscure, and you can really get into depth in the designs. I also see rounds that are for different politicians. There's a lot of variety, so that's one of the advantages, certainly. There's also the possibility, I don't have any in front of me, but they can tone quite nicely. And right now, the main competitor, I would say, and I'll do a full video on it, is silver bars. In terms of getting low premium silver, they rarely are going to be able to tone. This one is American Prospector by Engelhard, so that's kind of a cool name, one of the bigger silver bullion names. It doesn't mean that there's much of a premium here, but it's it can be nice. I've seen rounds that are toned going for nice premiums if there's really beautiful rainbow toning on them. Not kind of by default, but it's certainly something that happens. The 999 silver is certainly a nice thing with 90% U.S. junk silver. It's, there can be a little more calculation. Here exactly, this is a 1 ounce coin. This is 5 ounces. The spot price is either the ounce price or the ounce price times 5. That's pretty easy. I also, just as a side note, would recommend only going minimum 1 ounce. You don't want to go for half ounces or smaller silver rounds, because the premiums on those will get up quite a bit, because there is a little bit of a premium to mint them. I hadn't even focused on the back of this round. It's actually really nice. Northwest Territorial Mint, Pacific Ocean, and I've heard of that mint before. But as such, they're pretty divisible. Like if you get a 1,000 ounce bar, Either you've got the bar or you don't. Here you can generally go in 1 ounce increments. So if you're only buying a tiny amount, I mean, I still think that there's no, at current silver prices near a little bit under 30 an ounce, 1 ounce, it's a good amount to own. And I think that they're better than bars for that reason in small amounts because of the mix of a tiny bit of collectability, and then you can split them up and they look a little bit better than bars for the most part. There could be some very attractive bars, but like this is a really nicely struck coin. I think that it looks great. Year of the Rooster, 999 fine silver. I'm not sure what mint made this, but this is a really sharp coin. So like I said, there's a ton of ability to have some very cool silver rounds here. Now we'll get into the cons or the considerations. So I think that they're great at the 1 ounce level. I think 1 ounce bars are really thin and aren't quite as good, but I would say that I would prefer a 5 ounce bar to one of these 5 ounce silver rounds, because they're not, this does not store that easily. I mean, sure, I can stack these up, but you can fit these into like a coin flip like this, and it's easy to store that way. Not the case for one of these big bulky 5 ounce rounds, so you can't really have a nice stack. They don't go in plastic very well, and so that's certainly kind of a bummer. I think it's a lot easier to just have a round. So that's certainly something to think about in terms of the storage. I also think that in terms of design and physical appeal on these larger rounds, it's tougher to have the same level of kind of immaculate artistry, or if you do have it, you'll have to pay up for it. So there are some nice, like America the Beautiful rounds, I think, but there's certainly a lot of premiums on those coins and materials. Something like this, the artistry, I believe goes down in terms of my experience when you're getting into larger, and certainly you wouldn't want to have, a 10 or a kilo round coin. In my opinion, it's inconvenient in terms of storage, and the art on it does not look quite as good. Like, this is kind of specific, but it was more of a buy because it was so low over spot. I don't think that this looks particularly attractive. They're also a little bit less recognizable. Often, Engelhard is a nice name, but a lot of this doesn't even have a mint on it. It just says 1 troy ounce. So, I doubt anybody's going to question the authenticity, but there's no real standard to go by, so it could be a little more challenging in terms of deciphering that. And as such, you get a little less of a premium when you go back to sell. But that's expected. Often on higher premium items, if you can sell it the right way, you'll be able to recoup that high premium. Same with the low premium, probably not going to appreciate a ton beyond, if there's a price movement in silver. And then, lastly, I would say if you have a large quantity of these 1 ounce, you're probably going to need to store them in a box like this. But if you're going to buy like 500 ounces or 1,000 ounces, you may want to opt for the Silver Eagles, where you can store them like this in a monster tube or in a monster box, or you can get, large silver bars, which are kind of self-stored and they're not going to be sloshing around as much. So that's really what I have. I don't have a ton more than that, but that's how I think about the, silver rounds as a whole. I think that they're a good place to start. I think they can be very fun. I would not buy them on eBay because they're often pretty high fees. It's often the sort of thing where it's best to go to a local dealer and maybe purchase from them in person. And if you have to, you could, there's also some online places. eBay's fine, but I think the fees are a little bit too high. You probably want to go to a specific silver website. I've got affiliate links for silver websites below. I think right now I've got something going with SD Bullion, but there's also some other ones that you can consider. And if you go through my link, that will support this channel. But the bottom line is, I like silver rounds. It's not my primary way of stacking silver, but certainly something that I would not caution people against. Things like foreign silver, you have to think about how you're navigating that. These days, even American Silver Eagles, I think you have to think about that, how you're going to go about it, as well as graded bullion. But with that being said, thanks so much for watching the video, and I'll have a lot more silver content in the near future, as well as gold, other precious metals, in addition to the main topic on my channel, which is coins, currency, and numismatics. So I'll see you on those videos. Thanks for watching the video. I'd encourage you to like, comment, and definitely subscribe to the channel, and connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I also have a website, treasuretownYT.com, where you should go so that you can learn more about coins as well as what's happening on the channel and possibly find a place to sell your coins and collectibles. I also want to talk about some of my other projects like coinmeltprice.com, which shows precious metals prices as well as the melt values of coins containing those precious metals, both US and world. I also have coinsmetalscards.com, which will develop into a full marketplace as well as a news source for coins, metals, cards, as the name might suggest. And then treasuretowncoins.com, which long-term will be my coin dealing entity separate from the channel. And lastly, whatsthegrade.com, which will be a stickering service for already certified collectibles where you can get a approval or verification of the grade on the holder. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I look forward to seeing you on some of my other videos.